So let's call the meeting to order. No public forum. And, we've reviewed the minutes. Does anybody have any additions, corrections on the minutes? Okay, someone make a motion to approve? See George, do we have a second? Okay, we've got a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, the motion carries. John, I guess you're up first.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. The first item is a water rate study. The city auditor, Calvin Brooks, had some feedback from DOR on our water rate revenues for last fiscal year for FY20. And we were a bit low, with what was estimated to have come in. The majority of that is due to COVID and the shutdowns in the spring that impacted us, and places like Great Wolf being closed. But anyways, he had sent out the memo a while back, and we had a meeting last week about it. But he wants to have a water rate study and increase the water rates sooner than later. Part of it is he feels it's a convenient time, and I'm not necessarily in favor of this. He feels it's a convenient time because the landfill is going to be closed in a couple of years, and they're worried about additional costs there and fees there for trash removal, and also the stormwater, depending on what happens there with fees related to that. So we had a meeting last week. We talked about it all, and right now in our current fiscal year, through 6 months of it, we're right on the nose as far as what our revenue should be in total, and we're actually ahead in water rates by like 3.5%, the water rate revenue line item by itself. So we're actually, looking fine right now and better than we did last year at this time. So, we're hoping that things return a bit more normal with the vaccine out, and, businesses hopefully be able to open, later this year. But even given that, we're on a good trend as far as our revenues. So Nicholas was in on it, according to the business manager, Calvin, the mayor, and we're going to have another meeting in March about it to revisit, look at the revenues and things like that. But one thing that's going to happen is in the next fiscal year, we have a $900,000 loan payment going away, so we can actually make it through. This year is very tight. It's probably the tightest budget that I ever had, because we did pare things back a little bit because of COVID and things like that. So we did take some money from retained earnings to cover this year. So my intent was the next fiscal year is, we'll be fine with the $900,000 that we're going to not have to pay, and they'll allow us to put it back a little back into retained earnings, get it back up to like 10% of our budget. So, and one of the things that our retained earnings did go down quite a bit in the last fiscal year, but that's because we took money out for the Narrows Road project to supplement the grant that we had, and some work associated with that, and also a new pump roof and things like that at the Marshall Station, new roof at the Narrows Road Station where the hydro turbine's going in, or is in actually. It's not functional yet because we don't have the connection to the national grid, but anyways, we've never run in the red in any fiscal year in the last few years as far as what we took in and what we actually had for expenses. We've cut back and managed to stay below even in this last fiscal year when revenues were a bit below what we had forecast. So, but regardless, we're putting together all the information we need to do for a rate study, and we'll be working toward that in the coming months just to evaluate things. And Jeff also has an item. I'll let him speak to that a little bit too. But we're probably going to do an overall one and just kind of figure out if we, when there's increases needed, maybe not all at once, water and wastewater. And we also still have, wastewater still has a couple rate increases coming up. So I'll be honest, I push back on it because I know we get the calls, Jen gets the calls, Missy gets the calls, with people that are, having a difficult time paying their bills. And, if we really needed to bump it up right now, I would do that or push short it. But I just don't think now is a good time if we can make it through. We need to be frugal and, just make it through the next year without having to add anything more to their plate as far as expenses. So, but we will be looking at that, and it may be in 2022 maybe that we might have to have a rate increase, but that'll something be coming down the road. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. So we have a quarterly meeting. We're also going to look at some other things, with the city perhaps paying for their, water and wastewater, at least starting something, schools and things like that. We're going to talk about that a bit. We've actually come to the water division with some of the solar agreements that the city has. We kind of didn't get the credits that other departments did, so we've actually been paying, our electrical costs have gone up instead of going down with solar because we didn't get any credits. So we're going to look at that because, some of these things is what hurt us, as well as the additional money we're contributing to the city. And I'm not saying it shouldn't be contributed, for fringe benefits and insurance and things like that, which has gone up in the last couple of years. So, so those things have hurt us a little bit with our budget. But so we're going to look at some of those things. So, we've had some city accounts that have been very wasteful with their water, where we've had, millions of gallons that have just been, obviously wasted because the flows through those meters have been much larger than other years. This past year was better, but we need to make sure that other, city departments that aren't paying for water and wastewater, that they're keeping an eye on their water usage and not wasting it just because they don't pay for it. So those are some of the things that we're going to do to kind of get some of the, these, I consider them wasteful expenses per se, down a bit. So, so we'll be having that. We wanted to update you on that. I don't know if there's any questions or concerns about any of that, or.
John, when was our last rate study? And when we went to the city council for the last rate increase, how many years did we project for?
It went out 5 years, and last year was in the 5th year of it.
Okay.
And actually, our overall, even though it's like line item by line item, it's not the same, but our through fiscal year 20, our actual projections in the water rate study are very close as far as what was projected and what we actually took in. So, I know some of the things that we pointed out that we're not far off from what was projected with those. We had, a bad year last year, but I don't want to say bad because we still ended up in the year in the black, rather than in the red. It isn't like we, spent more than we took in. We actually, put some money back into retained earnings. But, yeah, for example, in FY18, I just pulled up the figures, and I can send this to everyone too, but we were projected in the rate study to take in a total of $6.166 million, and we took in 6.124, so we're about 40,000 under there. In FY19, we were projected to take in 6.422 million. We took in 6.406, so a little under 20,000 there. And in FY20, we were projected to take in 6.416, and we took in 6.318, so we're about 100,000 behind there. And that was pretty much all in the loss in the rate revenue, late in the fiscal year last year. So, but that's still very close to, what was projected. So, like I said, the anomaly is when DOR looks at these, fiscal year over fiscal year numbers and what was projected, when they see something that comes in, more than 10% below, projections and stuff, or, a significant change. So, and that's what they saw with our water rate, that it was down about 6.3%. So, so they were just concerned about that, and, Calvin brought it up and wrote a memo about it, and basically, trying to push it to right now. But like I said, I don't know how the commission members feel, but some people are doing fine with this economy, but there's others that, in the service industry and things like that are really struggling. And, if they're not working, they're actually home more. So their water and sewer bill could actually go up, when they're working less. So they're taking in less money income-wise and spending more on some of the other things, So I just would like to see us get through this year and this, these issues and stuff, and before we add any more. Like I said, if we didn't have the $900,000 loan payment going away, where we could, put some of that money back in, it's like we're going to use that all up in our budget line items by increasing them or anything. A good portion that can go back into retained earnings next year, so we can, basically get everything on a perfectly even keel. And if I have to lower the estimates for water rate revenue for next fiscal year, we can cover that with that $900,000. I don't think we will because everything looks okay now, unless something really takes a turn. But we're actually, like I said, ahead from last. We're about 53.2%, whereas we're 50% through the year, so we're about 3% above. So not a lot, but it's better than being 3% below. So.
Any thoughts or?
But yeah, we're due for a water rate study. Are we due for water rate increases? I don't know. We'll have to look at it and see, where we go from here, because we got some other loans that are running, and it really is a good time to figure it all out in the next fiscal years with the capital improvements that we need to do. So, but I don't want anybody to be alarmed by it. This year is very tight. We had some unexpected things come up. We got to put a new boiler in it. The regional plant, one of the two up there, has failed. There's $30-something thousand, $36,000 or $38,000 there, and we've just had it was a tight budget year anyway. But I've had these type of things come up that it's like, well, why couldn't it come out another year, a year before, or a year after? But we'll be fine. So we're going to cut back expenses in other areas. In this fiscal year, we're not going to buy any equipment. There's $120,000 that there that would have gone toward a couple of new trucks and a gate turner. So we're going to not do that this year and just cover these things. We'll get it through. So, and next fiscal year, even without any rate increases is fine. So, all right. So yeah, about 5 years ago was the last rate study. So we're due.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah,
Any other questions on this? Nick, you good?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that, John is very good at running the water division. He's very frugal and very mindful of the financial impact on the residents. So, so I know how much work he puts into, making sure that he's on budget. So, he needs a lot of credit for that. And also what we're gonna do is we're gonna, our business manager, Courtney, is going to look in the short term. She's going to do, some analysis to present to the mayor, and we'll share that with you, of course. But John didn't, and I agree completely with John. He didn't want to just arbitrarily raise the rates. So we're going to wait until we finish that study, and that study is going to be both water and wastewater.
Sounds good. What else you got, John?
All right, 245 River Street, where Center Pizza is, that whole housing complex, came to our attention several months ago that that meter something was wrong with that meter. We probably should have caught it earlier. I don't know how we didn't, but it was a brand new meter that was installed back in October of 2000 or September of 2019, the last day of September. So. The owners of the people that handle the bills for the complex actually approached us because they thought that we had been overbilling them in the past because with the new meter it was underbilling. So which is what we found out now. So we've done a bunch of investigation trying to figure out why is this? Are they actually using less? Did we overbill? So took quite a bit of effort to actually figure it out, and there was a issue with the meter itself. It's a brand new Neptune meter. I sent some documents to you today about that, but they manufacture millions of meters, and this is they have 0.00024% that sometimes have a defect, and they usually caught before they left, but unfortunately they didn't catch this from before they left. So the meter there is a compound meter, which means that there's two meter sides, one for higher flows and one for low flows. The low flows side is basically the same meter as you would have in a house, a 5/8 inch meter. And the majority of the flow actually goes through there, but in the morning hours when everybody's showering and getting ready for work, and the evening hours, the high side opens up, and so that, we don't restrict flow, and the amount is recorded through there. What we found out was that the low side, the high side was fine, but the low side was where the faulty meter part was, and it had to do with something not properly aligned with the magnetic poles in the meter magnet. So the the bottom line is that after we've gone through, I wanted to have a couple months of usage through there to kind of bookend the beginning before the new meter was installed, and then with a new meter in there, so we could do some estimates. And the amount that we determined, over the months that it was there, which was almost a year before we, replaced the meter once we found out exactly what was going on, we resulted in about 23,000 underbilling for water and about 50,000 or 51,000 underbilling for wastewater, for a total of 74,286. So we need to, I just want to inform you, we need to bill them for this. I'm sure they're not going to be too happy about it. And I've spoken to Weston and Sampson about this, about, I feel bad for them. I'm sure they, probably people are, in some situations, may not be paying their rent, or, things going on there. So I'm sure their money's tight too. But I just want to inform everybody there. And I just didn't know if anybody had any comments and concerns about that. I talked to Weston and Sampson about recouping anything from Neptune, and I'm not sure if there's a balance there that, they had provided the faulty meter, even though, we know what went through it now, an estimate, but I'm a little bit, sad about the situation. I hate to give the bill to them, because of a faulty meter. I mean, I don't know if anybody has any thoughts on all this, or, concerns or what.
First question, legally, even though it didn't go through the meter, are we in, or we didn't register on the meter, do we have a legal right to claim this by the estimates like you're talking about?
Yeah, I believe we do.
Okay. And with other times when we've had these kinds of circumstances, we have worked out payment plans. Do you think it'd be appropriate to have a discussion with them if they agree that they use the water based on this? It would seem like an appropriate situation to have a discussion, particularly in all the COVID situation and everything else. It would seem like an appropriate discussion to have, assuming we can, again, legally do that. I think we determined that we could, didn't we?
Yeah. Yeah, we can figure out something.
Do you want to let them make the appeal first to say that they can't pay it before we offer up the payment plan?
The only thing I'd say, sending somebody a $74,000 bill, and that's a bad day.
Yes.
It seems like if someone's getting a surprise $74,000 bill, it seems like a phone call too.
No, yeah, no, I wouldn't just send them that. I'll talk to them. Now that we have another month of reading, I just, needed to, like I said, the bookend the bad period, so I could just make sure of what we're doing and stuff. And in fact, the revenue loss may be a little bit more than that. We're going with what they used last year, and we compared it to other similar complexes, and other complexes are up by 24 to 31% in water usage because more people are home. So, of course, that's sewer usage as well too. So the 74,000 is based on flows from last year, and when in fact it may be, I don't want to say, oh, you're actually getting a deal. I hate to tell them that, but we don't feel justified because we don't know if they actually use more. We know the other complexes did, just for a comparison, because we were going to say, well, if the other complexes use less, well, maybe we can justify and, lowering their bill a bit. That was kind of the comparison, because you just don't know until you look at it. So I was just trying to find any way to help them out, because it, like you said, Rick, it is a bad day to get something like that. And I don't know. I wish there was a way we could reduce it, but I don't, then it goes on the other customers for running the systems too,
Yeah, I mean, if we have a good case that they used it, they owe us the money, and we have a responsibility to collect whatever we can. But by the same token, if this was a business and we had, if this was a regular business and we had not billed somebody, we certainly would be thinking about how to keep goodwill also.
Yeah.
We need to
Well,
collect.
that's it. I don't want this to turn into something that's, a bad thing for the city in general,
Right.
You see it in the news, water system billing, or getting a huge water sewer bill, and the city doesn't care and stuff. And You know, I hate to see that, you know, for Fitchburg, you know.
John, you also mentioned the manufacturer, that, you know, it was a brand new meter, you know, if there's a warranty, are you going to pursue that in parallel?
Yeah, I was trying to get something out of Weston Sampson again today. They haven't committed, you know, it's like, what should we do, you know? So they said they'd be willing to kind of act as an intermediary, you know, and see what they'd be willing to do. So, you know, maybe not a direct payment, but maybe, you know, equipment, you know, so it isn't per se, you know, and we can just use that to reduce. I don't know how anybody feels about that, if I could get some money out of them, you know, in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, even if you get even if you get 20,000 out of them, then, you know, reduces what we need to charge the apartment building, you know?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, that, you know.
It seems like that might be a question for the city solicitor.
Yeah, I can ask. I mean, I just, you know, I was hoping, you know, I can be kind of going back and forth with Neptune and the people, you know, Ty Sales is their representative in the area, so we're not dealing directly with them. I haven't talked to, and I, you know, I just get letters and stuff, which is, of course, because they're a big, you know, conglomerate. But yeah, I was hoping they would offer up something, you know. It's like, oh, you know, well, you know, at least a starting point, you know, because it makes you know, it's quite a, you know, I know that Ty Sales, the local representative who you know, who supplies us all stuff from them, is, you know, is embarrassed by the whole thing, and, you know, they're, I believe they're sincerely sorry about it, you know.
Yeah, that being said,
they've never seen anything like this, not once.
Yeah, but I mean, we lost money because of their fault.
Yeah, defective product.
You know, one would expect a demand letter from our city solicitor. You know, they don't want to go to court. They, you know, it's going to cost them 20 grand to defend it in court.
Yeah.
And our city solicitors, you know, just on a retainer. So my guess is that they might want to try to buy off something. I think I'd have a conversation with the solicitor.
Yeah, I can talk to them now. We have, like I said, we just got the last readings for another month, and now I'm going to look at them a little bit more closely and stuff, just to, you know, Weston Sampson went through and calculated them for me. I just didn't have time over the last day after I got the readings, but I'm going to look at them again and just see, you know, make sure that, you know, if we're erring to one side, it should be in their favor, I would think. So.
Yeah. Bottom line, they admitted it was faulty, and because they sold us a faulty product, we lost money. I don't know. There's got to be liability there.
Yeah. Getting something out of the city solicitor is tough, though, as Nicholas knows.
Well, he may refer us to. I mean, there's plenty of attorneys that will take something like this on a contingency basis.
That would be better.
Yeah, he may refer us to another attorney to write the nastygram.
Yeah. Yep. So I'll look at those avenues and stuff, and maybe I can throw a bug in Weston Sampson here to talk to them, that, you know, that's what we got to look at, you know. So yeah, it would be nice to give them some help or whatever, you know. I do feel bad about this. I wish we could have. I wish it wasn't as much, you know. I wish it wasn't off so much, but it was. So. All right.
Yeah.
So I'll update you at the next meeting, you know, what, you know, after talking to Vinny and, you know, get some more information and stuff, and we'll see where we are at that point. So I think now, you know, I am going to, I'll make a call to them and just find who to talk to there, because it's usually just managers and stuff. So they, you know, they're not the ones to talk to. So I'll see what I can do and just give them a heads up this is coming, and, you know, see, kind of get a feel for, you know, what they're thinking. So, okay.
That's good.
All right. This will be one of the most unpleasant things I've had to do here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, we pay you the big bucks.
Yeah. All right. On to the next thing, the meter upgrade project. So we have about 8,600 new meters installed. About right now, we've had a bunch, you know, actually after the holidays, we started to pick up a bit more. So it leaves us with about 2,800 left to install. So some more letters are going out. There's some people that aren't responding, so hopefully we can try to reinforce that. The thing is with these old meters, eventually we're gonna have to go into houses to read them if they, if we can't get them switched over, because the batteries are dying on those, remote units, which is what we're replacing, of course, along with the meter itself. So it's going to create quite a issue. So I would like to, and the reason I actually am proposing this is because a customer brought it up to me, that they'd rather pay a fee for us reading the meter than have us come in. I don't think that they're necessarily true. It's like, well, just charge me more money. I don't care, because they didn't want us to come into the house. So, we have a fee for doing final readings of $50, and I was thinking that we would put in a letter that if you don't finish it by a certain date, that we would have to charge a convenience fee for reading the obsolete meters. And I don't expect to get any money that way, but people just aren't responding. I think when they see their first bill with an extra $50 on it, they're going to call just like they do with a high bill, and then they're going to let us right in. So I don't actually expect to get the $50 out of them, because we'll abate it if they let us in after their first bill. It's for the people that just keep going on and on and on. So, and I honestly, I'm not sure. You guys can let me know afterwards. I think it's a better tactic than going out than shutting off people's water and doing all that. I'd rather charge them a small fee. $50 is quite a bit, and when they see that in their bill, I know they're going to call us instantly and they're going to get it set up. We'll set it a date for April or something like that. That with these letters going out, if you don't have it done by then this will be charged. And to be honest, people aren't going to read those meters. Those letters they haven't. And then when they get their bill and it's $50 more, they want to know what that fee is. We'll get out there, we'll abate the fee, and then it'll be done. So, any thoughts or concerns about that, or
anybody? Nope. I think people are going to play the COVID card, so.
Yeah, and that's fine, and that's up to the woman. I don't want you in and stuff, but if I can just get them down to a certain point, there's some, that I'll be honest. I hate to say it, but some of these people probably have a bypass, or these last ones. I'm not saying all 2,800, of course, but some of these people that aren't let us in are going to have something that they shouldn't have been doing. And we really need to get those done. So. Yeah. Those same people, I think, when they see a $50 charge on their bill, they're going to, freak out a bit. And like I said, well, we'll go in, let us in the next month, and we'll abate that $50, and it's not going to cost you anything. The meter will be done, and then we'll go forward from there. So, and hopefully with the vaccines and stuff, by the time, April, May, June rolls around, that, we'll be in a better position. Maybe people will be more comfortable with things too. So. And I've talked to quite a few people about COVID and stuff, and we've kind of pushed it off a little bit because they have expressed a concern about their health, their elderly, or something like that. So we'll work with people, but I would like to kind of push them a bit to go toward that. So, because some people can actually, they can let us in their house through a basement or something like that. There's a couple that can't, the meter's under a sink in one of these condos or something like that, but, 90-something% can, get us in there without really getting too close to them. So, I'd really like to move that along, because, like I said, at some point we're going to have to actually go into the house to read the meter head, to actually get a reading off of it, because the batteries on that remote unit, even with the old system, aren't going to work. So that was my proposal. So
that sounds reasonable.
We always find that somebody gets a high bill or gets a fee, they all of a sudden they're calling. They're very willing at that point. So we're hoping that will, push quite a few people along. So, because I think some people are, just ignoring it, not necessarily because of COVID or anything out, or just matter of fact, I think some of them just aren't reading the letters. I think that the $50 charge will get their attention. So.
Okay.
All right.
Anything else, John?
No, that's pretty much it. So, and like I said, I'll do some more stuff with 245 River Street. Now we're at this point, and I'll reach out to them too, just kind of let them know that we're going to have to be sending something and stuff. And I won't tell them exact figures that we're trying to work it out, but just to let them know that something will be coming. So, and I'll try to get a feel on how they might take it. Okay.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jeff, you're up.
Thank you. Leading off, I wanted to talk about the sewer ordinance. That's the legal matter we've gone through, actually changing the city code chapter 147, and we were doing that for two reasons. One had to do with the local limits change that we went through, and then the second reason had to do with being compliant with the federal industrial pretreatment program. So we actually had council do its third and final reading on December 15th. And then shortly after that, on December 18th, the mayor signed the ordinance. So it was at the tail end of December that we got this buttoned up. That being said, we've got requirements in our intermunicipal agreements with both Westminster and Lunenburg, where we need to provide written notice to each of a change of our ordinance or a change of our local limits. And immediately after the New Year holiday, I got those out to both Westminster and Lunenburg, certified return receipt as required in the IMAs. So I believe we've gotten our green cards back. So each IMA partner has a time frame within which they have to adopt ordinance as stringent or more so than ours, than Fitchburg's. And they also have to adopt the local limits as well. Going hand in hand with that, regretfully, I have to inform the commission that I've not gotten any feedback from the city solicitor on the rules and regs. It was late in October when the ask was first made. So this is our third Water and Wastewater Commission meeting now where I haven't had any feedback. So my apologies to the commission. We'll continue to try to get this out of the city solicitor, his written feedback on the rules and regs. And I'm hopeful, I won't say optimistic necessarily, but I'm hopeful that we'll have his feedback for the February 2021 commission meeting. Moving ahead, construction projects. It was late in November this past year, 2020, when we gave the notice to proceed to J.A. Polito and Sons for our next combined sewer separation project. So it was late in November when they actually began the work. What they've been doing is really been spot type work. They've not been going full bore the way that we've seen contractors do this in separation, only by virtue of it being winter work. So it's very spotty by nature. Eventually, the contractor is going to get to a point where he'll be able to do his trenchless rehabilitation of our sewer pipes. So that's the cured in place pipe that does not involve investigation. That's actually work that can take place in the very cold months of winter. So that work will also take place in the winter months. Most recently, we did get an update from Weston and Sampson, who's the engineer on the project. Weston and Sampson reports that Polito has completed the spot repairs on South Street and anticipates to perform spot repairs at the following locations for the remainder of the week. Some work on Walnut Street, replacing a sewer Y, work on Brigham Street, which is a point repair of the sewer. And then over on Woodland Street, they'll be doing a doghouse manhole installation. The second bullet under construction projects.
Jeff, can I add something real quick to the Polito project?
Sure thing.
Yeah, we've been getting a lot of, let's say, blowback from local contractors and some residents about why we're doing construction during the winter time. And, our explanation has been that, the spot repairs are really so that they can do the lining, which they can do, trenchless through the winter. And this is a very large $10 million project, with the consent decree. It's a very important project. And Polito's doing an excellent job of not only is the weather cooperating, but they do an excellent job of using, dry backfill and paving afterwards. And, so this is, this, a city engineer, we allow certain amount of winter work on our streets with very specific, caveats, including, if a snowstorm's coming, no plates allowed. And Polito has been following all these. So, if you hear any complaints or grumblings about why, we're allowing this to happen, is, this is per standard procedure and this is per agreement, and there's very specific way, inspections to make sure that they're doing the job adequately.
Thank you, Nick. I'm not quite sure how to get out ahead of that. Obviously, we've gotten some of these complaints already. If there was a way to formally address it, we did have a inquiry from one of our city councilors who was relaying a constituent's concern much along the lines of what Nick just mentioned. And I believe that our response back to the city councilor was accepted and then relayed back to the constituent. And we haven't heard any further follow-up on that particular inquiry. But so far, this contractor does look like they do things the right way by the book. So we're very thankful for that. You can't necessarily say that about every contractor. Any other questions on this particular sub-bullet? I'll move on to the next bullet under construction projects, unless anyone has any other questions.
I think we're good, Jeff.
Okay. The second sub-bullet under construction projects has to do with our on-call construction contract work, and this is the work by Blue Diamond Equipment. Blue Diamond Equipment has completed the excavation work on the Highview Street sewer replacement and rehabilitation project. But what they haven't done yet is the trenchless rehab. There is a portion of that project that was trenchless rehabilitation as well. And that should be happening again sometime over the winter. We're working with the contractor on that. But so far, we think that this has been a successful small project for us. Overwhelmingly, this work was done outside of the paved roadway and outside of the right-of-way. This is one of those areas in the city of Fitchburg where our forefathers in public works thought it was best to construct our utilities outside the right-of-way to avoid digging into the notorious Fitchburg granite to save a dime on the installation. Only 20, 50 years later, we have to deal with the aftermath. So we're rehabilitating and replacing areas of this sewer that was particularly problematic. We did not think it was cost effective, unfortunately, to relocate it back into the right-of-way. That would involve the extensive work in ledge, which is extremely, extremely expensive. But the project is moving forward, and we've been satisfied with the progress of the contractor. The second sub-bullet under on-call construction contract is in reference to another task for Boulder Drive. This is us trying to stay out ahead of the roadway repaving work of Boulder Drive. We had some sewer separation work we needed to do. This is pretty much on the back side of the 718 City Hall campus. It's going to involve approximately 520 feet of 8-inch PVC sewer install, 100 feet of 15-inch diameter PVC sewer install in a few manholes. The contractor is going to get us his price proposal under the terms of the on-call contract by the end of this week. Realistically, we're not going to try to do this construction in the winter months. We're going to postpone this and have it start once construction season proper rolls around again. But we want to get the terms of the task assignment squared away with the contractor. So that's continuing to move forward. The next sub-bullet actually should have been its own number. It's a wastewater management plan. That, of course, is not a construction project. This is a consent decree item under the wastewater consent decree. The wastewater management plan, as I've said before, represents kind of the zenith of the consent decree, where we're assessing what we've done and what we need to do in order to come into compliance. the consent decree was never one of those resolution agreements where you do X, Y, Z and you walk away from it. We actually need to petition DEP and EPA to be released from that agreement. So the wastewater management plan is a very important part of the consent decree. This is the second of this is the second of 3 submissions of the wastewater management plan. The first submission we sent out in May of 2019. Again, this kind of reinforces pretty much what we had initially put forward, and that is to say that we're indicating to the regulatory authorities that it's most appropriate to address the environmental concerns represented by combined sewer overflows. And we're putting the tertiary treatment at the treatment plant on the back burner. There's more bang for your buck, if you will, with combined sewer separation. It benefits both the natural environment by eliminating releases of untreated sewage to the environment in our stormwater outfalls or to the rivers and brooks of Fitchburg. But it also helps remove rainwater and groundwater that's coming into the headworks of the treatment plant. So that you kind of get a 2-for-1 with this. By the consent decree, we're required to attain the sewer separation by December 31st of 2030. So we established our game plan to achieve that in the wastewater management plan. And I would like to point out, this was a suggestion by Nick Bozanetto, and I thank him for that. We did make both the original submission of the wastewater management plan as well as the most recent submission at the end of December 2020. We made those documents available on the city's webpage. So if you were to navigate to the wastewater page of the city's website, you would see about halfway down the page an area where you could actually download the wastewater management plan, as well as the CSO long-term control plan, which was a part of our original submission. Any questions to that point?
Questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, you know, when I read the wastewater management plan, I was fascinated. It's a great read, and it is a testament to the work that Deputy Commissioner Mirowski has done for the city. How much has been achieved and how far we have progressed in a short amount of time. It's truly impressive.
Yeah, recently I was reflecting back on this, and it occurred to me that I'm the last man standing who was a part of the negotiation team for this consent decree. Everyone else, Lenny, Dennis, Joe, Solicitor Barrett, they've all hung up their spurs. Good for them. The very last item on the wastewater agenda is just circling back to what John had made reference to before. As the commission members recall, obviously wastewater did do a sewer rate study, which parlayed into a 5-year rates increase plan. And that the wastewater rate study was performed in the 2017 to 2018 calendar year timeframe. And that resulted in a 5-year rates change schedule affecting fiscal years 19 through fiscal year 23. So we still have a couple of years where we're knocking on the door of FY 22, where we've got sewer rates. So obviously we're not in the same position that water is in. But it could make sense for some coordination and some savings to both water and wastewater by having the same consultant do work which would naturally be duplicated for both studies if we were to do a water rate study versus a wastewater rate study. So I anticipate being a part of that conversation with both Nick and John going forward. As the commission members, of course, remember rates are very strongly correlated to capital improvements. And as the commission members, we still have a lot of capital ahead of us in wastewater, mostly driven by the consent decree. John, did you want to add something?
No, I'm good.
Oh, I saw you unmute, so I thought you had something you wanted to add.
No, just I know we're winding down, so.
That was essentially the last update I had. The very last sub-bullet I had is something that I said earlier in the meeting. We can't simply walk away from the consent decree. We actually have to attain what's required of us and then appeal to be released from it. Any questions from the commission members or any suggestions on how to approach the city solicitor on these rules and regs?
Doesn't sound like there's any good suggestions for that.
So I'll keep working at it.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll have something in advance of next month's meeting. I do remember that the commission wants this feedback so that it can be considered in advance of the next meeting that we hold.
Would be helpful.
So I'll stay on them.
Very good. Is there any other business?
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Siri wants. Siri's listening to me.
Is Siri taking minutes on the meeting?
So no other business. The next meeting is.
Actually, if I could, there is one other thing that might be a good time. When we start meeting together, Nate from FATV had asked about meeting, down at one of the city hall facilities. Then the meetings could be taped, FATV could still have them and stuff and so forth. So I don't know if it's something you guys want to consider or not. I mean, I'm fine with it. But he had asked if it's something we'd like to do, when we get to that point.
As far as I'm concerned, it's it's the convenience of you guys. I don't know how difficult it is for you to get to the city hall. For the rest of us, I think we're coming from all over. Whether we drive to Ridge Road or drive to City Hall, I don't think there's a big difference.
The only thing I
as long as there isn't a big meeting going on where it's taken up, there's no parking and stuff. I mean, it's actually pretty convenient to park, right next to City Hall behind the old bank building. So, it might be as long as we're not, in conflict with somebody else's meetings, it might not be a bad idea.
Exactly. I think we may need to be flexible in changing our traditional meeting night, but I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Hey, John, I heard you interviewed some good candidates yesterday or last week.
Yeah, we did. So yeah, we're going to hire a couple of them. So we're happy about that.
Yeah,
I might be interested in your leftovers, John. Let me know when you've made your decisions.
I got to talk to Nicholas. I don't want to have any leftovers.
Call me tomorrow. I'll give you the go ahead for whatever you want, man.
The thing is, we have 3 people retiring in January, a year from now. The head treatment plant operator and our 2 most senior primary treatment operators. So we're going to have a big, vacuum there. So we know that it's probably at least one person from distribution is going over there. So, when you have some good candidates, even if it, may not be quite the plan, it might be worth getting them on board because they seem to be pretty enthusiastic and they seem very intelligent and seem like good people. So, but I'll talk to Nicholas about it tomorrow. So.
I just recently lost one of my operators, the lower level. So I'm going to have a vacancy to fill.
Yeah, this past year was pretty rough for employees, just not having people and, getting people in. And some of the best candidates we've had in a while, I'll be honest. I mean, they have their CDLs, they're getting their hoisting and, I've just never seen anything like that. Usually they have nothing. So, they seem to be, stable in their positions where they are and stuff. And, just like to have, some more personnel like that. All right, I'm all good. That's all I had. So I just wanted to mention the thing about the meetings down at the City Hall complex. So
Great. So our next meeting will be February 10th, 5
Yes.
o'clock. What's
Yes.
that?
Yes.
And at 5 o'clock and likely still be a Zoom meeting.
Nate Glenny sent me links through March. So whenever we decide, we can move ahead. So
Sounds good.
And Rick, I just wanted to, did you hear from Mike at all? Do we know where that's going?
Mike.
Mike McLaughlin?
No, you did send me the, you sent me his contact information right during this meeting?
Yeah,
I did. Okay, we both did then.
okay. I was gonna say, I sent it to you after last meeting, but I hadn't heard back from you. I'm just sending him all the stuff and
Yeah.
I've had no contact. He hasn't even reached out at all, so,
I'll reach out to him tomorrow.
okay.
I'll give you some feedback.
All right, sounds good.
Great.
All right, thanks.
Any other
Have a good
business?
night.
Okay. Take a
Bye.
motion to adjourn. We're adjourned.
Nice.
Thanks.
Hey.
Good night.
Thank you. Have a great night.